What's going on, everybody, and welcome. Welcome, folks. It is me. My name is David. I'm your host of this legendary podcast and this legendary channel, the Deconstructing Topic podcast, where we grab a topic and we, deconstruct that motherflower like, and then we trying to get something good. Because you know what? You know what it is about my podcast? And when you listen to my podcast, you listen to my channel, I always got a mission. Because you know what? It's saving a mind, it's saving a life. Because for sure, we live in a time where, you know what, there's so much going on and that you'll be like, okay, what the hell is going on? But I'm glad that you're with me. I'm glad that you came across my channel. If those who are listening and watching, in this case, if this is your first time, hit that sub. All the information, it's in my podcast. And if in case, and I'm not going to say in case, but do please download the Tigos app where I also will be doing content. And there's other content creator out there because look, we love the YouTube, we love the other, whatever it is. And sometimes, you know what, we need a little bit more independent minded individuals that, you know what, you could just be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. So that's why you got to download the Tigos TV app. And you know what? Subscribe to that channel. Subscribe. It's a little small fee going on there, but you know what? It's all good. Hey, we helping independent people get to here because we no longer we cannot allow the mainstream or whatever the big dogs with the big money kind of dictate what you should be thinking, what you should be doing, whatever it is that you're doing. They push all these buttons that you know what? Sometimes you just gotta unplug yourself and then come to this channel. Come to Tigos TV as well. Once again, download the app, and I'm doing a little introduction so that people could understand where I come from when it comes to politics, when it comes to because I love politics, and that's one of the things that I want to talk about is, where's my view and what do I think and so on and so forth. So I decided what better place and what more than to talk about where and how I think and my philosophy when it comes to politics. Because I'm very, very independent minded, and not just independent. I'm very like pro. Like, hey, listen, think on your own because thinking on your own when you come to these certain conclusions in life and these things that happen. But again, there's a lot of factors out there that push your buttons, your emotions, and you don't think, and you go out there, go and vote and do this and do that, thinking you're doing the right thing because we gotta fight this. You ain't fighting anything. You just basically being a puppet. You know what? I'm here to help you with that. And one of the things that I'm gonna say is this: that one of the things that we're gonna be talking about Brother Malcolm X here, where I get my a lot of my thoughts because, and to give you a background, right? So back in the early '90s, mid '90s, our family, we struggle. You know what I mean? We struggle as a family, as a whole, and we, was in the shelter system in New York City, and I was a homeless teenager, and I even told my mother, like, listen, there are times that I was staying in the streets, whatever it is, we was in a shelter system, and one of the things that I noticed, especially in the mid '90s, I'm a homeless teenager is that a lot of times I would just go out there, go to New York City. Now I'm in New York City. I just want to be more specific that I would go to downtown Manhattan or Manhattan. Manhattan is the heart of everything. You know what I mean? Even though the other boroughs like the Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, we make this beautiful melting pot what we call New York City. But you see, Manhattan, it's where it's at. You know what I mean? It's the capital of the world, as they will say. But one of the things that when I was a homeless teenager, and obviously, but is that I started kind of like seeing something odd. And one of the things I was in high school is that I was seeing these white groups, right? And at that time I couldn't been able to decipher what it was, but it was just white people that just didn't like each other, but they just were living with each other and they were living in better means than the people in our community between the black and the Latinos and other communities. And I said to myself, there's something doesn't seem right. And then the movie Malcolm X with Denzel Washington, directed by Spike Lee, good movie, but it's very mainstream because I think Brother Malcolm X if you look at his philosophy, there was a lot of things that he was warning us about. And it's funny because as once that we got into a situation, I started in high school kind of to like speak about there's certain people, especially white faction, white groups, especially friendly ones, that seems a little bit too friendly with us. There were some that were kind of too friendly, with me, but not in that crazy sense, no funny stuff, but more like in a sense, it's like you feel like they want to help you, but they kind of like want to help you because they feel bad for you. They feel like this sense of guilt. But I wasn't able to decipher what it is. I just kept on calling them, there's these friendly, and it's funny because I would tell one of my teachers about that, and he happened to give me the autobiography of Malcolm X, um, by Alex Haley. And he was calling me the Puerto Rican Malcolm X, and there was another one calling me a Che for whatever reason, Che Guevara. It's like, damn, David, you got like this energy, this spark, this thing that you want to start a revolution and so on. And I'm like, I'm just an observant. I'm just watching things. It's like right in front of me. Because I always tell people, I was born in Puerto Rico. Shout out to my beautiful island, my island country of Puerto Rico, which I'm an advocate for the independence of Puerto Rico. So my mindset was a little bit different. As a family coming to the United States, it's like you kind of like sense there's something going on. Why is it that a lot of our people, let's say the Puerto Rican and the blacks, and then, we got the Mexicans, we got, other groups there too, but hey, we're talking about Puerto Ricans and black. Why are we on substance abuse? You know what I mean? Why are we on drugs, alcohol? Why, again, it's okay to, I guess, drink, whatever. Sometimes, you know what? I'm just saying, I enjoy it. But sadly, there's a lot of people that tend to kind of fall into the cracks. And I'm seeing, like, why are people falling into these cracks? But, no pun intended. I'm just saying there's something going on. And one of the things that I've noticed, especially when I was traveling to, as a homeless teenager, when I kind of would say, hey, listen, I'm going to stay at a friend's house, but I would wind up sleeping in the streets or so on, or at least waking up super, super early. And one of the things I was taking what they call the sixth train, the sixth line. For those, shout out to the sixth line. That's my favorite line. You know what I mean? Hey, that's just me. But as it goes from where I took, where a lot of our black, Puerto Rican people, Mexican, and all that good stuff, Ecuadorian, all my people of color. As it went to downtown, the color of the train of the passengers started changing to more white. And I'm like, something doesn't seem right. And as I became more politically mature, as Brother Malcolm X said, then I started to kind of grasp certain things that he started talking about. And one of the things that he have mentioned that is sadly, it's like Brother Malcolm X is like, so he's celebrated, but at the same time he's silenced because his image and some of his matches get co-opted because you want to kind of, you want to swim in the safer waters in a way. And one of the things that Brother Malcolm was mentioning is that in this country, there's two white factions, right? There's the white liberal, which he calls the Fox. Those are the friendly ones that I was kind of implying about. And then there's those white conservative, mostly Christians who, for some reason, they think like, hey, listen, you're in this country now, by all means, you have the freedom and all. They tell you have the freedom, but they're like the first one to kind of like lock you up on some weird stuff like that. You know what I mean? And those are the wolf. Those are the people that you kind of like. The white liberal will tell you, hey, stay away from those people. We got you. And one of the things, and let me kind of read this picture because it's one of the most interesting things that I always said. That his message, I could see why he was still, in a sense, silenced, even though Malcolm X is no longer with us. But his message just resonates like never. But still, he is silenced. And one of the things right here, let me read what it says. It says the white liberal differs from the white conservative only in one way. The liberal is more deceitful than the conservative. The liberal is more hypocritical than the conservative. Both want power, But the white liberal is the one that has perfect the art of posing as the Negro's friend and benefactor. And by winning the friendship and allegiance and support of the Negro, the white liberal is able to use the Negro as their pawn or tool in a political football game that is constantly raging between the white liberals and white conservatives. Amen to that. And I'm going to say is this. These two factions, they hide behind the Republican and the Democratic Party. Now, I'm just going to say here because, again, I'm just kind of introduced because I want people to come over here. Like, you know what I mean? Because even though I do tend to question our political system, I don't want to imply that there's not some candidates that are willing to do something for a good cause for the people. I understand, and you got, people like Adam Power, back in the 60s, whatever. And even myself, who might consider, say, hey, listen, maybe I'll make a run for mayor of New York City in 2029, and I'll give you why I say that. And then I'm going to touch bases on upcoming video podcasts. That's why you got to listen to my podcast. You got to hit that like button, comment, talk to me, whatever is going on. Is that during the time that I was a teenage homeless, there's a little story where I was looking for 1 penny to complete $1.25 so I could get a pizza, which was $1.25. And it took me forever to find this penny. Now, prior to that, I believe I had like $1.20, and I found like 4 pennies like in a heartbeat. But that one last penny to get that, how can I say that $1.25 pizza? Once I got the pizza, I was eating it and I was crying and I had a tear. And I was in this area in a little park, and I remember when I put my head up when I finished this pizza, and I'm like just questioning like, what is going on? Am I giving up? Well, I'm just calling to the creative goods of what's going on, and then to realize that there was this big building not too far from me, and it was City Hall. And I said to myself, you know what? Maybe one day I'll be there so I can help people like myself and help the black community, help other communities that are over here, and then you got over here these people. And my thing is that once again, I always want to emphasize to people that sometimes we have to unplug ourselves from these factions. Because even if you say they point the finger, and I'll give an example. Now, prior to me doing this video, I do my socials, hit up people, whatever the case might be. And, there's a lot of people who, how can I say, who think like me in the sense that we feel like the Republican Democrat Party is no good. We need more independent. We need, some better candidates, whatever it is. And then, someone replied, well, I kind of disagree because the Democrats' policies and so on. And I say here, and, I reach out to this individual. I don't like to talk about policies because, somebody got to do it, right? Somebody got to help the people. Somebody, in a sense, got to help the poor people. So it'll give you that illusion that you have these two systems, that one is for the people and one is against the people, and maybe vice versa. I like to say, you know what, relax. Now, I didn't want to continue to engage with the individual. I know he reached out to see if I would be willing to have this conversation in the podcast. Again, if you are someone who is pushing the narrative that either party is the right, and you fall into the faction of white liberals and white conservative, I'm going to push back. Because it always seems, and I'm going to give an example. There was another person in my social who have, kind of struggled mentally, financially, and so on. And, it's funny because the person the other day said something to that effect in regards to the Charlie Kirk assassination. Let's just say that if we follow the narrative, that the shooter was a leftist, liberal ideology, whatever it is. And that person in my social said something to the effect of, oh, we should free Tyler Robinson, whatever. And in my mind, I said it's this, right? There's a young kid, let's just say again, if I'm falling to that narrative, politically immature, right, early 20s. It looks like he had look, he bought a gun. Look, he had some means, he had some money, right? You over here struggling. This dude got some money. And let's just say, if we do a kind of alternative reality that he never shot by Charlie Kirk. Let's just, for the sake that he just continue to kind of as age to have this liberal ideology and to have the well-to-do means. I asked that person, do you think that if Tyler Robinson 5, 10 years from now became a millionaire, because again, he had the means, he came from a background, he could have done something. Do you think that he's gonna go to black communities and fund uh, toy drives and food drive, clothes drive? Do you think he's gonna help you? He would rather have that money and trying to delete his opposition than to help. And that's the problem that I have with these two factions. They basically do the same thing, it's just as Brother Malcolm X said. Their mannerism is a little bit different. It's like the fox and the wolf. And one of the things that I point out in regards to, again, these two factions, and I point out the George Floyd situation. You got certain white liberals that, was with the Black Lives Matter movement and with the Black Lives and the Black community marching and so on and so forth. And look, and rightfully so, right? But what I start to notice that anytime that there's something that hurts their bottom line, they tend to like show up. Oh yeah, because you know what, we here for you, and you know what, we got this person that is gonna help us, so we're gonna fund this. You understand? Because I always said in the black community, there's other issues. One of the things is domestic violence, gun violence, and so on. And a lot of these violence happen because of poverty. And I'm in New York City. New York City is like 90% Democrats, whatever it is. And again, I'm want to emphasize that these two factions. That's what they do. They the hand that washes the other parties. That's what they do. And anytime that there's issues that happen in our community, you don't see those white liberals who claim to be, Black Lives or whatever. You don't see them nowhere. Domestic violence, it's an issue in our community. Big issue. I'm definitely going to be touching because not only just affects the black community. There's something, and I was doing some little research. It also hurts the LGBT community. But you see, what's funny about that is that, again, these groups, both of them, they use the LGBT community as that thing. Oh, we should be talking because it's going to take the rights. But the fact that even the LGBT community have high stats in domestic violence, but we don't talk about that because that's not what brings money to these two factions. Oh yeah, let's get it. That's why I'm like, I'm glad I'm over here. I'm gonna be celebrating my 20-year anniversary of surviving a car accident, and because of that, I'm given a second chance, or maybe a third or fourth chance, that I'm here to talk about those things, and I'm here to kind of like help people to think on your own. Because the sad thing is that with the cancel culture and what's going on and what happened with Charlie Kirk, the funny thing is this, is that white supremacy doesn't have to look like Donald Trump. They don't have to look like Charlie Kirk. They could white supremacy could be looking like Taylor Swift. I'm just saying that it's been ingrained in our mind based on history that supremacy is this. But Brother Malcolm X was saying, hold up. You guys talking about white supremacy. You guys pointing the finger, sending people to the South to fight segregation. And in 1963-64, there was a boycott in New York City, from New York City, and even New York City had segregation. Even to this day, in a sense, good segregation does occur because of poverty. But you see, they don't want, and these two factions, they don't want people to unite. It's funny because I could grab a MAGA from Staten Island struggling. I could grab a white liberal here struggling. And they work on the same place in a factory somewhere in New York City. And they could say, you know what? They're not giving us sick days. They're not giving us vacation. We are not getting an increase. But yeah, we busting our butt, making sure that this and that happens. And they decide to get together. Because, sometimes I always emphasize, it's class war. It's what's the people that's here that needs to unite so that we could know that, hey, listen, the people over here, they could actually uplift us in better ways than what it is now. Big time. Look, people struggle. People be like, oh, why they wind up, let's say working in a factory. Hey, stuff happen. Stuff happen. We already know stuff happening. And somebody has to do it, right? But the fact is that these two individuals who might have a different ideology are coming together to fight the greater cause. You know what happened? Cancel culture. I don't know where somebody on the right, oh, so you telling me that you are talking to this white liberal LBGT member to try to see if you could unite and have a better workplace, then that means you LBGT. The conservative, white conservative, or whatever it is that your ideology would say, well, no. And then what happens? They take you away from this. And on this side, the white liberal goes to home, hey, listen, I'm working with this MAGA person. We're going to try to fight. And he's like, they don't even, you'll probably go to the house and they probably won't even let you speak. Well, wait, hold on, but no, you're working with a MAGA. But hold on, let me tell you what happened. You understand what I'm saying here? And sadly, both sides of the aisle, the white liberal and the white conservative, and I'm more vocal on the white liberal because they think like they on the left and they think that they own us. It's like I always said, the white liberal is more like keeping the black community in check, while the white conservative is gonna remind you why you should be in check. Oh, well, the reason why you this is because in your community there's crime, there's fatherless homes, and there's this and there's that. Then I say, like I mentioned it with Charlie Kirk, so there were people who have platform and have means, then what are you doing to help us? That's not a guy answer. That's zero. Nothing. And if you do something, and somebody pointed out, oh, Charlie Kirk did this, and you need Jesus, and, I'm like, hold on. We all need Jesus. Again, why is these two factions going after each other, which what Brother Malcolm X warned us about? Why is it that they going after each other? Why is it that they spend millions and millions going after each other when they have the means to help a lot of communities that they claim that they vouch for, right? And that's what I want to bring in this channel. I want to introduce myself to people, to how I think. You want me to go out there and wake up one day and listen, let's fight Trump, because hey, this and that. I'm like, hold on. I'll fight Trump. What you did there is uncalled for. I'll fight him. But what are you going to do? I'm not going to fight that person unless you do something for our community. And when I bring those topics up, when I say, hey, listen, come to certain neighborhoods in the Bronx, we need help. My local business, we got some good food, we got some good people here. Oh, I'm busy. You know what? I'm gonna take my family. We're going to Central America. We're gonna go to Guatemala and with the Spanish people. I'm like, yo, there's Spanish people over here in the Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens. Come on, where you at? Spanish Harlem. Hey, Harlem. So the thing is this, that's what I get. And once again, as long as these two factions exist and hiding behind the Republican and Democratic Party, as long as these two factions exist, sadly, America's not going to go nowhere. We ain't going to go nowhere. There's going to be some more videos, more good information. We're going to digest. We're going to kind of like, it's like a matrix here. Hey, listen, I'm not Morpheus. Somebody did call me the Puerto Rican Morpheus. Let's go. But I'm here to kind of educate you, open your mind. Because remember, I'm over here because if I could save your mind, I could save your life, and we could start saving the whole damn country. My name is David, and once again, your host of the the legendary Deconstructing Topic podcast. We out of here. Make it happen. Once again, hit that like, sub, whatever it is that you want to do. Share this podcast and this channel with other people. And go to T-Goose TV. Once again, that little think, that little app that has some good stuff there. I'm there. And let's help support each other, because at the end of the day, that's all we have is each other. Let them fight. We here. Let's make it happen. I'm out. Peace.